Okay. Okay, let's kick off. So, hello, and a very warm welcome back to this NOI Group clinical discussion. My name is Joanna Taylor, and I am the director of NOI Group Europe. And I am delighted to be joined again by NOI Group instructor and my very good friend, Tim Beames. Good morning, Tim.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is for everybody.
Wherever it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So welcome back, Tim, and it's great to have you here again. For those of you who missed our first session last week, a couple of weeks ago, I think it was actually, could you just tell everybody a little bit about your current work and what you are doing professionally?
Yes, I am a physio who specializes in pain recovery. So I look at people from a whole person perspective, and just help them to understand themselves and what's going on and build some confidence in themselves, especially people living with complex regional pain syndrome and male pelvic pain. I'm a co-founder of Pelvic Pain Matters, who support men with pelvic pain, and Lepupsian Defeat, a global learning community that helps clinicians explore and apply the latest pain science into their practice. I'm
Fantastic.
sure there's other things as well, but there we
There's
go.
loads.
Yeah, no, right.
And would you have you dropped the links into the chat so people can check out the other projects that you're involved in?
Oh, I can.
There's tons of really great stuff there, and Le Pub Scientifique has a really great free membership with some uh, super content in there. It's really good fun. So do go and check that out if you would like to. I've just dropped into the chat the link to our YouTube channel, which is where you will find the recording to this session. I've also dropped into the chat the link to Tim's next upcoming course and the next graded motor imagery course, and also the NOI Group clinical discussion Facebook group, which is a fantastic community hosted largely by our very own David Bolton. He is an amazing clinician with 30 plus years of clinical experience, and he's always at
50,
50. Oh
50
my
years.
goodness. Did that I got that
Yeah.
wrong, my goodness. So 50 years of clinical experience, and he is a NOI ambassador and in there answering people's questions. So check that out too. Okay, let's kick off. So thanks, Tim. And also Tim is also co-author of the Graded Motor Imagery Handbook with David Butler and Lorimer Moseley. And he brings over 20 years of experience himself teaching graded motor imagery. So, in our first session, we covered the essentials of GMI, the three core components, and how to identify appropriate candidates. And today we're drilling down into one of the specific components, mirror therapy. This is stage 3 of GMI and is, well, possibly the most powerful tool, but we'll find out more about that. So just a couple of things to mention before we start. We're going to be talking for about 20 to 25 minutes. If you have any questions, please ask them in the Q&A or in the chat. We'll get to as many of them as you can. And if you want to watch the recording of the session, as I've said, you can access it on our YouTube channel. So mirror therapy, when to use it and when not to. And this is what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about the neuroscience, how mirror therapy actually works, clinical indicators that somebody is ready for mirror work, warning signs that mirrors might make things worse, and what to do if the mirror therapy backfires. So, first question, Tim, let's start with the science. Can you explain how mirror therapy actually works? What's happening
Mm.
when we use mirrors?
Oh, blimey, that's a hard one to start, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, can I say yes and no? And that depends on the way that we look at what's going on, really, and the models that we use to understand mirror therapy and movement or pain or sense of self and other and what have you. So one of the ways that we think that mirror therapy works is that it's activating parts of the movement system. Um, and there's some voluntary activation of different parts of your movement system. A theory originally was that that was part of that hierarchy and exposure back into either feared or painful movement. So in other words, with mirror therapy, that you, by doing the movement and watching the movement, and perhaps maybe not moving quite as much, behind the mirror in the hidden limb or the painful limb or the phantom, then you were giving at least the sense, visually mostly, of moving that limb. So that's one way of thinking about it. There were
Mm.
theories, and I can't really remember now whether we wrote this in the book, but originally we were thinking about how that maps out in the sense of self and versus other, and there's still elements of this, but in terms of what actually goes on in the human brain is debated. So we were thinking that we were activating what many people will have heard of is the mirror neuron system.
Mm.
That's quite a debated, hotly debated area. So we're not even sure whether that really exists. Certainly not in its original ideas, its original format in a human being. It's a bit more complex than that, and we think of it more as of motor or movement systems and networks and how they integrate with each other. And then I suppose, sorry, the bit of a blur, but it's like, coming out a little bit from me, but I'm interested in slightly different models to those as well, and I would see and there's not quite enough evidence yet, I suppose, from the clinical trials, more because people aren't currently investigating with that hat on, is the role of prediction, expectation,
Mm.
and how that influences what you do. And I would say there's a stronger rationale for what we're going to talk about relating to those types of models. So the predictive processing, as an example, would fit this really, really well, actually. And from the scientific point of view, what does it really do? Well, we, by using a mirror, create some form of error
Mm.
in the experience. So the felt experience is one thing, the visual experience is another. The felt experience, both sensory, proprioceptive, interoceptive, etc. And what we're if we're using that model, this fits really nicely. Is we're trying to create enough of a difference
Mm.
that it sort of enables a little bit of plasticity to take place and an updating of a prediction. So, in other words, we're creating something that is mostly visually, but there's a felt experience of movement there for many people when they do it correctly, when they set it up well. That's at least is at odds. So is you would call it incongruent with the prior prediction. So you update
Yeah.
it with a new prediction through this error. And then a part of the training in that is to consolidate that experience. So consolidate, update that updated prediction that you can move, or it can feel a bit freer, or it is a part of your body, or whatever it is that you're trying to set up there within that person. I suppose the easiest way of understanding that is through an embodied experience. So, the felt
Mm.
experience of your body, that it does feel like you, that it is you in control. In other words, you have agency of your own movements, and those felt movements feel, as close to what you're expecting them to feel, and certainly close to what you feel in other areas of your body as well. So,
Oh, that's fascinating.
is that
It is.
I'm just the potted history of where my thoughts are going with the science there.
So what I'm hearing is that the visual feedback is overriding other sensory information. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's essentially a part of that. I'm not sure it's overriding, but it's certainly creating enough of a mismatch between one felt experience and another felt experience. So, yeah, and those, there's enough of a difference there to then say, oh, hang on, maybe I need to update this. Maybe I need to experience something differently. Maybe there is other possibilities or
Yeah.
opportunities there. So
Okay.
that's how I would see it. And for those of you like just listening in on this, one idea around pain, particularly persistent pain and persistent movement problems, and is that movement impairments, for instance, is that it's like a self-fueling prophecy. So
Mm,
once it becomes painful or once it becomes impaired, then the prediction is highly weighted towards that experience. When I do this, I expect pain. Well, what's
mm,
the chance of that? Really, really high. Okay, so
mm.
that's just it. Why don't we just predict it out? So what
Yeah.
we're trying to do there is we're trying to say, oh, maybe there's another way, maybe there's
Okay.
another experience here, and what could that be?
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you. So interesting. The mirror therapy is the third stage of GMI. Why is it important that it comes after as the third stage and the preceding two stages, left-right discrimination and imagery? Why is the sequence important?
Oh God, Joe, these are difficult questions today, aren't they? Well, could I like the cop out would be Lorimer made it like that. Uh, no, is it?
I think, sorry,
Look,
Tim, I think
there's
what I'm trying to get to is that some people tend to jump straight into mirror therapy, don't
yeah,
they?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And that there is an important, it's a three-stage process and
yeah.
the importance of the three stages.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So within that hierarchy, mirror therapy for graded motor imagery, this is because
Mm,
it could be used as a standalone therapy and very often is,
hmm
and has been for years and years and years. So, could we offer that? Absolutely. When it's delivered as part of graded motor imagery or when it's delivered sequentially after, for instance, motor imagery, what is it doing and why would you do it like that? I think that
mm,
might be my question or rephrasing of the question, is that there's a slightly altered sense of agency within that. So the felt sense, and if we look at what's going on within different brain networks, it looks like it's a little bit closer to and is, depending on how you use it, to the activation of those motor, both planning, preparation, but also execution networks, and
hmm
also the motor perceptual networks as well, the ones that make it feel like or are part of what allows us, as part of that process of it, the felt sense of this is me moving, this is how it feels when I'm in control of my movements,
hmm
and yeah, and that is distinctly different to motor imagery, and before that, left-right judgment tasks as well.
So what I'm hearing there is is it like a warm up to, does it make the mirror therapy more effective if you do it as a sequence, or is that dependent on the
We don't
patient?
know. I mean, it looks like that's true for a fairly homogenous group, and that the sequence is important for CRPS following fracture. Is that important for other groups? We don't know fully.
Mm,
Um, but is that investigated? No, certainly not appropriately. And there are many problems actually when you look at the evidence in particularly mirror therapy, for instance, where there's such different setups and protocols. It is very, very difficult to know what, and compare one with another as well. And they often don't do it in a sequential order with other elements of GMI. And even when they are, listen to this, even when they are, people don't necessarily do it like that. So,
mm,
if you say, oh, how closely to GMI did you follow the sequences? They'll be like, yeah, not really very close at all. I just
okay.
jumped to the one that sounds cool, mirror therapy. And that's what I often hear anecdotally from some of my patients as well, is they say, "Oh yeah, I've tried mirror therapy," and "Oh, did you do any of the other parts of gradient motor imagery?" Nope. Oh, what did you do with mirror therapy? And then And then the disappointment starts rising in me when I go, oh, it didn't sound like they set it up very well. And
Yeah.
they probably didn't really truly understand what it was that they were trying to create within that experience as well. So,
Mm.
yeah. Can I go back a one little bit, which is as
You
I'm sort
can.
of telling this, is the sequences, because there may very well be great importance in the preparation phase. And let's call the preparation phase imagery,
Mm.
motor imagery. But the preparation phase for mirror therapy might be something else. It might be the expectation. So if you go in with the expectation of this isn't going to do anything, oh, it's going to just, what's this weird thing that this person's going to, then that has a dramatic effect as well on the felt experience, and the
Okay.
potential success of treatment as well. So the preparation actually is very, very important.
Interesting. So how do you know when it's time to move on to the mirror therapy, when somebody's ready for it? What are you looking for?
So, well, there's a few cues, I guess. I mean, when we were thinking about graded motor imagery and moving on, um, to begin with, it was part of a protocol. So it was a protocolized, well, we've reached the fifth week, so let's start mirror therapy.
Mm.
Individualizing that is a bit more difficult, because then what are we doing? Are we keeping, say, motor imagery going whilst we move on to mirror therapy, or do we stop this and then move on to that? And I guess thinking about it from a preparation phase, is this person ready to start moving and experiencing movement? Well, that depends on the experience of that person, and how and why you're choosing to do what you're doing. So
Mm.
originally, GMI was part of a treatment to help some really challenging pain conditions that are highly disabling and create massive suffering and are characterized through unpredictability and great extremes of intensity. And a part of the rationale there was that we were gradually exposing them
Mm.
to embodiment and movement. So that should, for me, that should still be a part of the rationale. Is it wise to introduce mirror therapy at this stage with this person? Because the pros are that we can get this, felt sense of movement, and that might be at odds with what they currently think. But what we also have with mirror therapy, which is an interesting one, is that can come with, well, the felt sense can be at great odds. So the mismatch can be very, very large. And it often comes with quite a strong valency. So the emotional response of mirror therapy, typically, and has been my experience, is typically far, far greater as well. And there might be something about mirrors and socio-cultural experiences and understanding
Hmm.
of mirrors and
Hmm.
whatever else it is. Whatever, there is typically a very done well is a very, very strong response for some people. And you need to make sure that you're ready for that. And that might
Okay.
come out as someone feeling like overwhelmed. It might come out with
I
like a
see.
massive autonomic response and
Mm.
stress and sickness. And it might come out as mega threat and like changes in that limb. So yeah, it is important to know when and how you introduce this as well.
So what I'm hearing is that on an individual basis, um, obviously you've to assess whether people are ready for it, and then to watch out for any warning signs that the mirrors may make things worse, fear, distress.
Yeah,
Um,
and a a decent therapist should have heard all of this. They should know that these are possibilities. when you're listening to someone's narrative, Joe, you know all about this. When you're
Yeah.
listening to someone and you're listening to their story and they're telling you about them and their experiences, then these are the sorts of things that it's important to note and notice and be aware of. So yeah, that's a part of my thinking then behind it. So the if you want the emotional response, but that there can be a valency, it could be very positive, it could be quite negative.
Yeah.
For some people, the positive response is quite overwhelming and amazing, and then you have the opportunity for almost like these um, sort of overnight miracles to occur as well. So, like, it's not all negative. It just means that you need to go in there with some knowing as well.
Mm. Great, thanks, Tim. So I just wanted to insert at this point, I had a lovely email before the session from somebody called Margaret Knight, and she is a long-term lived experience person, self-management, persistent pain, and she has a talent, and she can do mirror therapy with no mirror, which I think is incredible. Um, and she says that I know pain as I become sensitized through 3 years of spinal surgery injections, da, 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 and I could not even think of moving. And so these days, if I get pain in my arm or my leg, I just concentrate in all sensation in my leg, in my pain-free limb, and within 30 seconds, the pain disappears. And I just wondered, Tim, if you had any comment about that, because I thought it was just such a fantastic story. So I guess, Margaret, you've been through learning how to do graded motor imagery and mirror therapy.
Well, first of all, awesome. Like,
Yeah.
brilliant. Well done. Amazing to hear from you, Margaret. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'd love to hear more, to be honest. So, yeah, well done and amazing. And yeah, given what you have experienced for such a long time, you are doing brilliantly.
It sounds to me like somebody that's just got really skilled at and taking it to an even newer level
Mhm.
through using it regularly, which is
Mhm.
incredible, Margaret. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
Um, so let's just come back in here. And we've talked about if you have a patient and you start with mirror therapy and you feel like it's actually having the opposite effect, that they are having a strong negative reaction, what do you do? How do you manage that situation?
Well, I hope I'm sort of predicting it in the first place as a possibility. So,
Mm,
the setting up for me, sort of the engagement process is important, the preparation, as we called it before. And dosing is important here. And we've talked about different ways
mm,
of understanding dosing in the past. And, you can use various different ladders to understand that. Traffic lights, as an example, is one to know, green is go, amber is, let's just take things a little bit steady and easy here, and red is let's just step away from there and do something to calm things down. So, yeah, it can happen, unfortunately, but it is the reality, and I suppose the strength of it, mirror therapy as a technique, is that it can be, both extremely positive and also negative as well. So yeah, the setting up
mm,
process is important. I do, and if people come on my course, they'll hear me to say this, but I show people first of all. Part of the preparation for me is for people to see it, to see me do it and experience it, and I think that's important as a part of a of a
okay.
preparation in them. And sometimes you have people feel a bit quite queasy actually just seeing you doing it. So it gives you a sense then already of going, oh wow, that's interesting. Would you be interested to try it yourself? And how would that feel for you? So
Have you got a box there? Have you got a mirror box with
I got
you?
a box here, Joe. I apologize because um it's not the cleanest one I've found. after
Well,
picking it up.
shall we just say it has been well used, Tim?
It's been well used. Yeah, it's got all sorts on it, and it's been well used. There we go.
And also, Tim is just in the house undergoing a huge building renovation to his home, so we'll let him off. Have you what might you show somebody then if you had a patient with you and you were about to explore mirror therapy with them and you wanted to put them at ease and give them some comfort? What actually might you demonstrate to them um, as an exercise? You doing it to judge their response to it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I get them to look at. I say, look, how are you comfortable looking in the mirror first of all? Which sounds really
Yeah,
obvious, but
it
not
isn't.
everybody is. And not everybody is when they've been through what they've been through or experiencing what they're experiencing. So, that's what I would do to begin with. And I'd look at myself and just go, oh God, do I look like that today? And things like that. Or whatever it is that however you work with people. I think, can I add this in because this is one thing that I get really frustrated about reading papers is
Sure.
that the way to create an illusion is to figure out where you place this in space, such that
Okay.
as you
Can you
and
lift it up a little bit?
we're setting this up for the face, yeah. I mean, this is a bit manipulated here, but setting up for the hand. Sorry. So as you look into it, you have to be able to see the limb. I don't know whether. Oh, here we go.
That's it. If you turn it to the
There we
side,
go.
lift.
Yeah.
That's it. We can see it now.
Here we go. See the limb.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to stand up. There we go. Stand up. Yeah.
that's it.
See the limb as if that is your limb, and what you're trying to do is not just figure out where you put your limb. You're having to figure out where you put the mirror as well. And
Yeah,
and one of and your head and what have you. So obviously this side mirror is okay for the hands. No, it's not so easy when you're starting to do other body parts. So, and one of the frustrations I see is even in research papers when they set up the mirror like this,
yeah. No,
that
no,
you've not set it up like
no.
that's not going to create the visual and if we can call it illusory experience that
Yeah,
you want to create. So then it immediately then makes me, I doubt that I'm not sure whether I'm confident that this group actually explored mirror therapy with people,
yeah.
if they don't even know how to set it up. So that is important. And actually, a part of that process, I would be explaining it through. And then
Mm,
there's something about, we used to talk about congruent, incongruent, and we used to say there was a phase before that, which would be don't move the hidden limb and just move the open limb. And actually, I think that creates too much incongruence in the expectation. So I would
okay.
say you're sort of saying, can you incline, even if the movement isn't that much there, even if there if there is a no limb, if there's just a phantom there as well, you're
Mm,
sort of inclining towards that felt experience of trying to move, and it seems that that's important as well. And then to begin with, it sounds really obvious, but start fairly simple. Start
mm.
simple, just watch the limb, just do small movements, and
Is
just
it? Are
hold
you
your
going like
gaze.
this?
Yeah, sorry, I've sat down again, haven't I? Sorry. Just hold your gaze as well. I haven't set this up perfectly for me. Hold your gaze and do fairly simple and probably fairly slow because you're wanting that visual
Mm,
experience to be quite a believable experience as well before you
mm,
get complex. But complexity might be important, also something that is more relevant as well, so maybe more
mm.
functionally relevant. So yeah, that would be my sort of starting point. And I typically do a little bit and then I get a bit of feedback.
Yeah,
And it's important if we're using those predictive models actually to have that feedback because we want that person to knowingly go in there and go,
mm,
this is what I'm doing and this is why I'm doing it and this is what I'm trying to feel. And if we don't feel it, then we need to adapt. And sometimes the adaptation actually is important. So the setup I think is key, and
Yeah,
it might take you 5 minutes, 10 minutes before you get it right.
yeah.
And then when you've got it right, great, then you can work. And I think a lot of people sort of miss that to begin with phase of getting it right.
Yeah.
If someone has a phantom in an unusual position, for instance, you need to work with that wherever that phantom is. And if that phantom is sort of locked, so to speak, in a position that you can't quite get to, then you definitely know this is not the right time to get here, because there's too much of a separation. It's too much of a mismatch then, isn't it, between
Mm,
what you see and what you feel. It needs to
mm.
be as believable as possible for there to be that saliency to believability and strength of believability that there's a difference there.
Amazing, Tim. Thank you so much. I do think it really helps when you actually see it in action. And obviously, that idea of setup, so important. And we've heard it many, many times over the years that it's a simple, but it's something that gets missed so often and
Mm.
therefore massively impacts the effectiveness of what you're doing.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So we're going to wrap up now. Quick question. How long do you recommend people to use a mirror for in their home program?
In
I
their
suppose
home
it
program.
depends.
Yeah, well, that's like there's a consolidation phase basically. So practice and consistency is important here, and um, practicing it in a number of different environments at different times in the day, using different movements is also an important part of that. So we're wanting to sort of challenge a number of different predictions that you have. So variability is important. In order to do enough and create enough variability, then that needs to be a part of that thinking process. The dosing principle, it's not as simple as going do one lot of 5 minutes or two lots of
Mm,
20 minutes. That needs to be individually tailored. So it depends on the response. So what we're looking for is enough so that it's a bit of a challenge without it being so much that it, for instance, flares them up or makes them feel sick. So that would be my basic answer. Actually, looking at the protocols and how much people do, it looks like you need to do more to get more effect. So, but that more might be 8 times a day for 20 seconds
mm.
rather than an hour in one go. But yeah, that really depends on the individual and figuring out. We've done some videos on dosing principles, haven't we? And exposure and what have you. So yeah, there's
Mm.
different scales that you can use, and that, it might be visually like the traffic lights, and you have this feed forward system. You have this communication between you to figure out what that would look like.
Amazing. Thanks, Tim. That was great. I was hooked the whole way through.
Do you know what, Joe? Before we came on, I wrote down, I think it was five. Here we go, five principles. Can I summarize?
I would love you to summarize.
So, educate before engaging, target prediction error, not intensity. So, it's not all about it being mega strong, it's about it being different enough. Ensure agency, so they have some control over what they're doing. Monitor embodiment and the emotional response, and integrate with other predictive recalibration tools.
Oh, you've got good vocabulary, haven't you?
Oh God! Then I started reading it, going, oh, I thought I'd done this really simply. But anyway, there we go.
Brilliant.
There's my five of this morning's principles for miracle.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, for those of you who are interested in developing a really sophisticated clinical reasoning around all the aspects of GMI, not just mirrors, but the whole toolkit, Tim's 3-day course goes deep into all of these concepts. Tim, can you just tell us very quickly what clinicians could expect if they were to attend the full online course?
Yeah, clinician. We do get people like lived experience people coming on courses, obviously. But what would you get? Well, first of all, you get to talk to other people and you get to share your experiences and you get to ask the questions about your individual use or your patient
Mhm.
populations. So there is that. We're just scratching the surface of the science here, aren't we? So
Oh, tiny.
we're doing a little scratch, but we would go a lot deeper. So you get to dive into the depth of some of the science and thinking around it, and you get to hear about how things have gone
Mm.
through our practice as well, and yeah, hear about the successes and the challenges. And I'm not going to call them failures because you know, but it's
Feedback.
yeah, we learn when things don't go as we wished. So yeah,
Yeah,
you get to learn about that as well, and you get to
yeah.
do it.
You get to do it, and you
You
get to
get to
do it with
do it.
Tim. And he is world leading in GMI. He'll hate me for saying that, but what Tim, you were one of the founders, Tim, and he is, you were, and he is just fantastic. And he knows this stuff inside out. He knows all the research, he knows absolutely everything. So if you want to learn from the best, you want to get yourself on a course with Tim.
I'm yeah, thank you. I'm not sure
Stop
about that,
that.
but yeah, thank you.
That yeah, it's true. So his course is running the 26th to the 28th of November, 3 online sessions, all fully recorded. They are in the morning European time. So I don't know, that depends how that would work for you, if wherever you are in the world, but they are all recorded. So that might be an option too. Uh, so thank you so much, Tim, for sharing practical, thoughtful guidance on mirror therapy. And thank you, everybody, for joining us live and for your questions. And Margaret, for letting me share your story, which I thought was just incredible that you taught yourself that. Just amazing. Round of applause. Remember that the recording is available on the YouTube channel. There are some other sessions on GMI on the channel as well. So if you want to get a feel for some of the elements of it, go and check those out. And if you really want to get to grips with it, book yourself on Tim's course. And and remember, we don't leave you in the classroom. We do these sessions to keep supporting you beyond that. So we'd love to stay in touch with everybody, and we love to do these lives to keep us in touch with the people that have done the courses and people who are new to NOI. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Bye bye.
Thanks.